What's good? What's good? What's good? You're now watching Duke Boy Sports Show. I am your host, Kyng Ralph. Here with another episode, Dolo. Although I am looking for a co-host, so if you're interested, bang my line. But before we get started, like I always do, gotta get started. Gotta do the usuals. Hold, turn the light down a little bit. Nah, it's too light. Brighten it up a little bit. All right. Yep. So, like we normally do, get a little started. If you want to do a podcast like what you're watching, music video, photo shoot, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. And if you're looking for a no crash, genderless, clean energy drink, they have pre-workout as well. Go on dubby.com, w.com, use promo code JUK for 20% off. And like I said, bang the line. If you're interested, got any questions, suggestions, interact, type in, go on Juke Network, JUK Network, and subscribe on YouTube. Help me get my subscribers up. I'm working on becoming a Twitch affiliate, so you can follow me at KYNG RALPH on Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, add an underscore for X or Twitter. And I am trying to get the Juke Network page on Facebook, take everything from the He Said, She Said channel, go to Juke Network, and once I get to 100 followers on there, I'll be able to do that. Just that. Follow that while you got the opportunity. And let's get straight into it, man. So NCAA tournament is finishing up. The men's and the women's tournaments have gone down to the Final Four. So I'm gonna go through the men's bracket. So the Southwest bracket, we got Auburn going up against number 1 Florida. SEC matchup. I'm gonna stick with Florida because I think I believe I had Florida in the championship game going to this, and I don't think I had Duke, but I do believe I had. Let's pull up the bam. All right, so I had. I don't think I had. Yeah, I had Alabama beating at this point. So I had Duke, I had Alabama, Houston, and then I did have Florida, Auburn, and Florida. Actually, no, I don't even think I had Michigan State beating Auburn, but I did have Florida at this point have an opportunity to go to the championship game. So I did have Florida, Houston. So I'm gonna stick with that. I just think that Florida is one of the most complete teams in the nation. I do think that I got to pull up the actual game I'm talking about. Getting together. This is why it's hard to do everything all at one time when you're the only person doing it. But neither here nor there. Auburn, I do think that they can get it done. This is an SEC matchup, so anything can happen. Could be, but I do think that Florida is one of the most complete teams in the nation. Doesn't really have too many flaws and weaknesses. And so I am going to Florida over Auburn getting to the championship game. And in the East Midwest bracket, we got number 1 Duke versus number 1 Houston. I'm going to go Houston here, although I do think it is something to be said when it's close and you have the best player on the court. In this tournament, when it comes to college, sometimes that doesn't necessarily always matter. But when it comes to these big games, these are the moments that you want to see. Like Cooper Flagg, proving that he's the number 1 pick, the best player in the nation, coming out of college. I think this is a perfect opportunity to be able to get his team to a championship game and really put a stamp on that. But I think regardless what he's shown and what he's proven, he's definitely a number one pick. But I do think Houston is just a little bit more physical and a little more talented, if not just as talented, than Duke. And so going over to the women's tournament, we got the regions 1 and 4. Got UCLA and UConn. I did have UCLA playing USC at this point, but I did not foresee Juju getting injured, tearing an ACL. So pretty much the moment that USC lost, I did believe that whoever won between UConn and USC was going to win the championship. I just had thought Juju would be able to stay healthy and be the deciding factor in why USC would beat UConn. Kind of what I said as far as Duke and Cooper. When you have the best player on the court on any given game, Paige Buckets, what they're calling her, had 2 40-pointers, a 30-pointer, balling out. I'm going to lean toward the guard play when it comes to this tournament and where we are, just the way that basketball is being played nowadays. I do think CLA, I forget her name. I do believe it's like Lauren Betts. Let's look. Yeah, Lauren Betts. She's 6'7", just kept coming off of 25 minutes, 17 points, 7 rebounds. Also scored a 30-pointer. So I do think that in the end, whoever wins this game is going to win the national championship. I don't think that South Carolina or Texas can just muster up enough firepower from an offensive standpoint to be able to keep up with UCLA and UConn. But I do got UConn. I just think Paige, in the end, it's going to be a little bit too much. It's going to be hard to deal with. She's a willing passer, definitely a bucket, shoot 5-level scorer, can guard. And I just think in the end, I don't think Lauren will be able to impose her will more than Paige can impose her will on me. And so in region 2, 3 matchup, South Carolina versus Texas. Number ones all getting to shoot. That's crazy. I'd probably have to look it up, but I know it's been a while since like 2008 was the last time we got 4 number ones in the men's side to get to the Final Four. Typically, if someone falls along the way, so to get 8 spots in men's and women's Final Four, to get 7 number 1 seeds, women's is not that much of a big, because it happens so often. Women's sports, or at least women's basketball, so far in my recollection of history, most of the time the best teams win. At least get to the Final Four. It's not too many upsets. That's why at one point, like really up until the last couple rounds, the first 2-3 rounds of Madness for women, I was able to hit a really high rating as far as the percentage that games I picked. This has been more so. UC got Juju got hurt. It kind of ruined my bracket because I had to win it. Then on top of that, like not really seeing Olivia and Notre Dame struggling against TCU, I just didn't see that happening. So Notre Dame was a team I had in the final, and they're just not. They didn't make it. It wasn't it for them. It wasn't their time. But in the end, I do got UConn over UCLA. I got South Carolina over Texas. And I probably should talk about it later just for content purposes. But I got UConn going all the way. Whoever wins the UCLA UConn game is going to win it all. I do think that in UConn is just going to be a little bit too much. And I don't think that South Carolina can score with UConn. if they were to play them in the championship game. So I got Houston, UConn winning their respective tournaments. And so got a lot of time. We're up to the fast break mark. I got a lot more content and topics this time, so I'm not necessarily gonna speed through them, but we'll see how it goes. So first one, there's a young man, I forget what school he played for, but I'm starting to see this a little too often with the emergence of the NIL deals. I think that if you haven't learned anything about just the music business, entertainment in itself, get that thing right. Whatever agreement they tell you they gonna give you a meal. They tell you, oh, you're gonna get 100,000, you're gonna get 6 figures. So boy that came from Holy Cross to be the UNLV quarterback, he was promised something, didn't get it. You're starting to see this a little too often, where you got text messages to prove it, but you need a legal binding contract. And if you got a kid that's gonna go, like I have a cousin, I always make the joke, he gonna get us out the hood. He's a phenomenal baseball player at a very young age. And I would give this advice to my cousin, his mom, that when you have someone that throws you some bread to come to this school, get that thing in writing, because you starting this too often when these coaches is getting players to come through or pull up, or you got like an offensive coordinator that really wants to coach this player, and it's like, all right, cool, hey, we gonna get you 6 figures when you get here, 200. And then when they get there, head coach, like, yeah, nah, that's not happening. Then it's like, who told you that? Then all it takes is for Buddy to be like, I never said that. And then now you asked out and you out of money. So it's like, unfortunately, that's the part that sucks about the business. And one of the things you always want to keep is the amateur status. You want to keep certain things away from, because they are still technically kids at that time. Especially me being 35. Like, to be 18 through 21, 22 years old, you're definitely still a kid in the way that you look at life, unless you just have certain life experiences where you had to grow up faster than you needed to. But beware of the NIL scams. Get that thing in writing. Whatever it is that they tell you or what they're gonna do to get you to come to this school, get a legal binding contract. Shoot, you can get your agent. Things are different now. College players can have agents even in college now. And so another conversation, I brought it up earlier when it came down to the 4 number ones, which hasn't been since 2008. In 2008, NIL was not a thing. But this could end up being a trend where it makes it difficult, unless you have an alum who is willing to put that much money up, Steph with Davidson. If you were to have, like, let's just say, for instance, Jerry Rice went to a HBCU, he throws them a couple mil to be able to sign players. Unless you have someone of that ilk, it's going to be difficult for the mid-major to be able to keep up with the amount of money that's going to be given at the level of, like, a Power 5 school. Just think of like a school like Xavier versus a school like Duke, Arizona, North Carolina. Xavier has some guys that came out of there. Butler, where Gordon Hayward. Xavier, you got, honestly, I can probably go through at least 3-4 NBA players. But if you went through and really looked at these programs, Duke is going to be able to give a certain amount of money because they just have it's a blue blood at some point. And so I do believe NIL will change. You always hear the term pay for play. NIL is going to change the landscape when it comes to mid-majors and these Cinderella stories. Like, you're not going to see the VCUs. You're not going to see the Butlers that go all the way. You're not going to see the Norfolk States get to the Sweet 16 as often, because it's going to be such for play. But I do believe, regardless of the matter, you will see it because styles make fights. If a team gets the right matchup, like I picked UC San Diego to beat Michigan, came up short. But the reason why I picked UC San Diego, there's a spurt in that game. Uh, there's a statement or part of that game where UC San Diego made a major comeback and was a few missed jump shots of taking. And so I do think that it's still going to be a thing. It's still going to happen. Styles make fights. If you get the right matchup in the right spot, the right team gets hot, the right team goes, the wrong team goes cold, however you want to look at it. I do think that you're still going to see it, but the play is definitely going to change the level that a certain player will get, unless it's just he has some tie to that mid-major. They're most likely going to take the most money, go to the best school with the most talent. And so I hope it doesn't change it to the point where it never happens, but I do see it going in a way where it's going to be definitely much more difficult. And so I brought her up earlier. Olivia Mills was the off guard for Notre Dame, was projected to be the number 2 pick, and said, I'm going to go ahead and hit that transfer portal instead. And this is the part where, and I'm listening to, I've seen different media pundits have this conversation, and I see both sides. Obviously, the major conversation, and always happens when it comes to players entering the draft, as well as the W's, salary caps, and how much they pay their players. Shoot, what's her name? Caitlin Clark made $77,000 in her first year. Obviously, she made more money when it comes to endorsements, commercials, SNL spots, and all that. But when it comes down to it, Olivia Miles going to Notre Dame can leave and make so much more money, shoot, maybe 4 times that same amount in 1 year. And then the one thing that needs to be talked about is the current WCBA, the collective bargaining agreement. It ends this year and it's supposed to start, or at the end of this year, and will start going into next year in 2026. So you stay in college, make more money than you would have made as a rookie. You get an opportunity to really prove yourself because you started off great. Was averaging like 15.6 assists, shooting 48% from the field, and then over the last 2 weeks, that same level that you were playing at, and you were getting exposed from a defensive standpoint. Those are the spots that you got to improve and get an opportunity. This is why I said that I felt like Angel Reese. I understand why she left, but you have holes in your game that you can work on and still make more money at a lower level, get that confidence, and then step into the W and hit the ground running. And so I'm get that bread because you're going to make more money in college. Let's see that whatever that bargaining agreement, as long as they don't go into a strike, and they can capitalize on that momentum to be able to turn that into a bigger percentage from the pot of the total pot. I do think in the end, this is a smart move. I also think that, like, if you watch like a Haley Van Lith, played in Louisville, played at LSU, struggled at LSU for whatever reason, goes to TCU, takes them to an Elite Eight, and thrives and flourishes to the point where she's going to be a high draft pick, in my estimation. And I think that Olivia Miles has an opportunity to be able to get the ball in her hands and thrive in a lead guard role rather than being an off guard. And those are the things that I can see the money side, but I see that side of it too. And I don't blame her for making that decision. And so I did have I had 2 more topics. Let's go. Womp, womp. I keep seeing this thing here, and this is the part for me, where I can't stand the new generation to a certain degree. Hold up, let me finish typing in these numbers. All right, who has the better resume? I keep seeing this discourse and this conversation of James Harden and Dwayne Wade. Who's the better player? James Harden with multiple 40-point triple doubles, 40 points, 15 assists, and putting all these numbers up. MVPs, which Dwayne Wade does not have. And these are the parts that I'm just like, I can't just ignore, because I can't just ignore the fact that you're a defensive, not liability, because when he has it in him to play defense, he plays defense. And so, but he just doesn't do it enough. And so I'm just going to go straight through accolades: 3-time scoring champ, 11-time All-Star, 2-time assist champ, 7-time All-NBA, All-Rookie team, 6th Man of the Year, was an MVP, and is a top 75 player. And then we got Dwayne Wade. I believe he only got one. Yeah, I believe he only got one scoring champion. But he is a top 75 player, 8-time All-NBA, 3-time NBA champion, Finals MVP, 3-time All-Defensive team, was the 2009 scoring champ, 13-time All-Star, and is then currently in the Hall of Fame. And these things for me is like, I feel like in this day and age, when we have these conversations, we only look at numbers. And I feel like too often numbers be lying, man. I don't agree with Jay-Z who said it was when men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. I don't agree with that, because I think that numbers be lying if you don't use the right context. And I feel like when you start to have these conversations, it's like, what Dwayne Wade gave you on a night in, night out basis, he was going to guard the best perimeter player on the other end. He was a help side, a rim protector as a guard. He can go and perform in the clutch. Finals MVP, what he did in the finals in 06. Even what he did in the finals against the Mavericks, it just was LeBron didn't really hold up his end of the bargain. And that's well documented. And those are the things for me. It's like, when it comes to James Harden, when he gets playoffs, what does he do? He disappears, doesn't play well, or gets hurt. And it's like, those are the things for me. It's like, there's a reason why, if you ask most people among the generations, name your top 5 shooting guards. There's Mike, Kobe, however you have them. For me, I think Mike is the GOAT. I don't think it's close. Then you got Kobe. And then there's only one person I'll give you, but I still believe that Dwayne Wade is clearly number 3, and it's not close. I'll give Allen Iverson because of his impact, what he meant to the sport and to the culture. But I just don't see him being a better overall player than Dwayne Wade. Size, strength, athleticism, speed, ability to get on to get to the rim, clutch scorer, Finals MVP. I just feel like he just has too many things that it's hard for me to look at anybody and say they're a better guard than him than Kobe and Mike. And so James Harden, I feel like at this point in his career, I would put him at 5. I still wouldn't put him over AI just because of the way AI performed in the playoffs when it was needed with lesser teams. I'm gonna give him a little bit more praise than I would James Harden, but I feel like what he's done from an accolade standpoint, what he's continuing to do today, still playing at a high level, playing really good basketball with the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard is back healthy, so they could possibly make a run. I feel like it's going to be a difficult out for anybody that matches up with them in the playoffs. And so I do think that James Harden deserves a certain amount of respect, but in the end, I just don't. I just don't see him as being better to play with. And so we're this close to getting rid of the tush push in the NFL. 16 owners have voted against it, leaving it on the table for them to do 8 more votes, seeing if they can get 8 more votes. 8 more votes. If they can get 8 more owners jump on the bandwagon, the tush push is gone. And then leads to the question: this is soft. Me personally, I believe this is soft. Soft as Charmin, soft as baby bottoms, soft as melted butter, like just mad soft. And I hate this from a competitive standpoint because you practice, you train, you go hard to be able to stop certain things. And to just not stop it, but the only way it got stopped was to go through rules committee and get it taken out of the game, where everybody has the ability to do it. This isn't just like the Eagles are the only team that can do it or are allowed to do it. The Bulls have tried, didn't quite work out the right way. I just feel like the Eagles have perfected it in a way where things get unfair. And I get it from a defensive standpoint why it would be frustrating, but everybody has the opportunity to do it. Why is it that the Eagles are the only team that's perfected it? And I don't feel like you can really blame them or judge them for it. Now, whether or not that makes for boring football, I do think in the end there's gonna be at least minimal some way where they either limit where and on the field and what times you can, kind of like the onside kick has to be the fourth quarter. You can't be the team winning. And you have to announce it type thing where I can see this where you can't do it as the red zone and it has to be on 4th down type of thing. I don't necessarily have a problem with it because I do think when we start these conversations of stats and leading people up, I don't have a problem with a quarterback getting a touchdown or quarterback sneak, but the push, like Cam Newton, if Cam Newton had a tush push, just think of how many more touchdowns he'd have been able to get. Where Jalen Hurts is putting himself in certain conversations and categories with the tush push, added on to his stats of touchdowns. And that's the part for me that I don't like that from that standpoint. And so I'm just like, but I do think in the end it's soft. If you can't beat them, then just go through the rules committee and get it taken out of the game. And that's the part for me I dislike. Thank you all for watching. I do gotta get up out here. PSA, I'm a macho nigga now. Always been a macho nigga though. I just keep seeing those memes and thoughts and reels and shit. Got my matcha latte, super dad. I do appreciate y'all watching. But like I said at the beginning, subscribe, follow, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. Subscribe at Juke Network, JUK Network on YouTube. Follow us at Juke Network on Facebook. Help me close that He Said, She Said channel, move everything over to the Juke Network. Follow them. Once I get to 100 followers, I'll be able to go live straight from there. Follow me at KYNG RALPH on Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, @_for X on Twitter. And you can just an audio only version on everywhere you listen to your podcast. I do got to get up out of here. I appreciate you. Peace.